here today, the ZEKE Award winners. We have Ginevra Bonina. She's the first place winner in the category of systemic change for her project Out for Blood in India. And then we have Ibrahim Alipour. He's the first place winner for documentary photography for his project Bullets Have No Borders from Kurdistan, Iran. Each will present and talk about their work for 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll have time for a few questions after each presentation and then a more open discussion afterwards. Our first speaker will be Ginevra Bonina with her project Out for Blood. This project explores menstruation as a physiological process, but despite influencing psychophysical well-being, reproductive health, education, work, and spiritual life, it remains surrounded by taboos and stigma rooted in mythology, religion, medicine, and culture. Ginevra is an Italian documentary photographer, writer, and producer. Born in Sicily, she holds a master's degree in languages, economics, and institutions of Asia and North Africa. In 2024, she completed a masterclass in photo and video journalism with the Italian news magazine Inside Over. Based in Geneva since 2019, Ginevra works as a freelance photographer and video maker, balancing commercial assignments with personal, long-term projects focused on women's and minority rights, feminist issues, and spirituality. Her practice combines a documentary approach with a poetic and symbolic visual language, often informed by anthropology and storytelling. So now let me turn this over to Ginevra.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Glenn, for the introduction. Let me just share my screen. Perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So thank you all for being here. As Glenn was mentioning, my project is about menstruation. So for about 40 years, circa, menstruation accompanies the lives of people with female reproductive systems and affects every aspect of our daily experience, from physical health to emotional well-being, education, work, and social participation. Yet across the world, it is still surrounded by silence, shame, and a lot of misinformation. When I started this project, I had many questions in my mind. Why do we fear this natural process? Why, in our Western and modern world, do we hide pads in our bags and try to conceal them from men's sight? Why do we use so many euphemisms to simply saying, instead of saying the word menstruation? And I also wanted to understand how superstitions, myths, and everything that remains unspoken have influenced for centuries the discrimination experienced by women and also people who menstruate. And also more broadly, how menstruation is lived in different parts of the world. And this led me to India, because I wanted to start. This project is a long-term documentary project with multiple chapters, but I wanted to start with India because there is a very important issue that is going there, and is period poverty. Period poverty, it is limited or non-existent access to safe menstrual products. And also it happens in those countries where there are inadequate sanitation facilities and education on menstrual health. So for me, it was important to start from India for these reasons, because there were all these conditions, but also because there were some solutions to the problem. So there were initiatives, support systems, and innovative approaches by some companies, but also NGOs that are working there to make a difference. And also during my time there, I had the opportunity to live and experience different countries, from the Hindu community to Muslim family to Adivasi tribal villages. So I'm gonna start showing you some of the pictures.
Excuse me, Ginevra,
Now.
can you show it in full screen?
Yeah. Yeah, sure, of course. Just give me a second. Okay, can you see it now? Full screen?
Uh, I'm not seeing it in full screen. Let's,
Not yet. Okay, just a second.
I thought we did this during the practice just earlier, but I
Yeah,
know that
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just see if it's full screen now. Okay, can you see it now?
Um, yeah, now we do. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's great. Amazing. So let me just, okay, perfect. So as I was saying, there are so many different situations depending on the communities where that I visited. But something all this community, the Hindu, the Muslim, and also the tribal villages have in common is restrictions. So all the women there, they face different kinds of rules and restrictions related to how they experience menstruation. In this case, here we are in a tribal village of the Gond ethnic minority in the state of Telangana, in the district of Adilabad. And here I was interviewing and I spent some time with this young mother, and she just had a baby that you can see in the just in the bed with her. And she was explaining to me that she's confined for several days during menstruation in a part of the house, and she's not allowed to touch anything except what is brought to her from the outside. And the only support that they have comes, for example, if there are any social workers that happen to pass through the village. So the problem is the menstrual blood is in general in India is considered dirty and impure, and only, let's say, the pregnancy blood, how they call it, is seen as good because it nourishes the child. So this is a very common situation that we can find in many places in India. Also, my work, there are many symbolic and conceptual references because I really wanted to speak about menstruation also from a broader perspective. So, not just the period poverty, but what does periods and menstruation signifies in the life of the people who menstruate. So, what is a flow, fertility, and all these concepts. One important role that is very, very important in the Indian society is the one of the Angavadi workers that you can see here. Those are people that really help the NGOs and the social workers with their work in supporting women and children. And this lady here, she organizes together with NGOs menstrual health sessions, which is sometimes the only way people can have an education regarding menstruation in many villages. This is an example of what many women in India use during menstruation. These are cloths that are washed and reused each month, usually without clean water and left to dry indoors, so without the exposure to sunlight. And this creates a significant problem because many women, they suffer from UTIs, irritation, dermatitis, and all these conditions can ultimately lead to also cancer. So this is an unsafe practice, but it's true that in so many parts of the country, people cannot afford menstrual products or they don't know how to use them. So this is something that I really witnessed in many places. And like following on this problem, there is the fact that when the girls, for example, have their first period, sometimes they drop off out of school because they don't have, for example, adequate sanitation facilities in their school, or they are too ashamed to talk, for example, with their mothers, and they don't know what's happening, so they simply decide to not go to school. There is a lot of misinformation, and children, for example, boys, they don't know anything except if they're like from, let's say, wealthy families, they don't know anything about menstruation. And girls, they sometimes they just know when it happens. During my time there, I visited many schools also to assess all the facilities, the toilets, and one of the reasons why the girls they drop off is because they don't have like toilets, soap, water, and they are ashamed because boys, for example, tease them. But in this situation, there are also, there is the work of many NGOs. For example, I had the chance to work with the Pinkish Foundation. They organize, many workshops related to menstrual health and really give the opportunity to many girls um, to understand what menstruation is, to normalize them, but also it's a safe space where they can share fears, questions, and also experiences. And what really surprises me is that they really start with the anatomy. So they talk about how we are made, how is your body, what is an uterus, and everything. So we take this for granted, of course, in the Western world, but it's something that is very, very important. And something that I also witnessed in the schools is the fact that they also teach the girls to speak about their needs. So this is very, very valuable because in their families, in their context is not usually like that. So if you cannot express like a problem, you cannot say if you have, a menstrual disorder, if you have pain, or if you need, anything. And the schools, many schools, especially the ones that work with NGOs, they really try to support. And for sure, another role, an important role, is played by the men. In my experience, there, many men, they don't want to know. I mean, if they know what menstruation is, they don't want to talk about it, and they feel very, very ashamed to even touch the topics. And the ones that are open to discuss it, they sometimes they think is an illness or is something that they don't need to know anything about it. So it's really complicated to have conversations. But during my stay there, I was in contact with this foundation that is called Amjoli Foundation. And this lady that you see here is a doctor that volunteers with them. And together with her, we organized a few menstrual health sessions for fathers, which was very, very interesting because many people came because they wanted to learn how to support their daughters when they will have their first period. And it was very beautiful and touching to see because we saw that with a combined effort between the foundation and the school, we were able to involve many, many fathers. But also, I wanted to see, situations in which there is no support from the NGOs, and I really wanted to talk with men, with boys that have absolutely no idea about what's going on. So together with this doctor, we did a very spontaneous visit to a police academy. And it was an interesting experience because we had the chance to talk with boys that were between 18 and 22. And the first 30 minutes that I was there, they were all looking at the floor. No one was looking at me because they were too ashamed, to even, start a conversation because they understood the topic, but they didn't want to talk about it. And only after their teacher left, after 30 minutes, they relaxed and we started to talk. And what was really impressive is that they chose like a spokesperson, and one of these boys, one of the youngest, he was 18, he asked me a question. And the question was, is it dangerous to have sex with a girl while she's having her period? And I was really happy to receive this question because it really shows that they're curious, they want to know. And the questions that came just after were like, how can we support our mothers, our sisters, our future wives when they have their periods? So it means that if we gave these people the tools also to understand what's going on. They are also interested in support. We don't have to think that everyone, doesn't care or just wants to, for example, confine women in a hut. So there is also this, and it's important to continue to foster this kind of communication. And also another aspect of my project was spirituality. Here you see this is the picture of a goat in a temple. There is a very important temple in the state of Assam, in the city of Guwahati. And this temple is dedicated to a goddess, the Kamakhya temple. And why I went there? Because it's the only goddess that menstruates. So once a year there is a festival in which there is a statue of the goddess that loses like this liquid that is of red color, and people from all over India and also other countries they come because it symbolizes fertility, power, feminine. There is also this aspect is very important in the Indian spirituality and especially in the Assamese culture. And this goat for me had like a double symbol because on one hand, of course, is the symbol of this temple. On the other side is a sacrifice for the goddess. So there are so many girls that we don't see. There are like sacrificed somehow because no one gives them attention. And another important aspect, and this is one of the pictures that I'm most proud of, is she's this lady, Hurena Kanam, is a menstrual educator. And she's one of my, is an erring for me because she and her husband live in a very remote area in the Adilabad district. And they have a little child, and with their motorbike, every day they do, I don't know, hundreds of kilometers just to knock on people's doors to talk about menstruation and also to invite them to come to sessions. And they also distribute free pads. And she's Muslim, but they work mostly with tribal communities. So the husband is translating for her. And I think this is the work that the field team of the NGO does every day, which is very tiring and complicated. But these are really the people who are out there trying to do something positive. And another aspect that I included is the one of sustainability. There are so many groups in India that are trying to create sanitary pad production centers to sell pads that are better quality in schools. In this case, you can see here a test between two pads that are from brands that are quite cheap, and the third one, the first one on the right, is from this production center. At the end, none of the pads was good for use because they are all leaking. But for me, it was really interesting to understand how they are produced and what are the efforts that people try to do on a local level to support, the need for pads that are cheaper. And here we have like another case, and it's a very important one, of a company that created the first machine there is called Padcare, and they are based in Pune, and they created the first machine that is able to recycle pads, so to separate the cellulose from plastic and to create from these very different products. So menstrual cycle, they can become also sustainable in a certain way and can be used to produce products. They also organize a collection, like home-to-home collection of used pads. They create bins for offices, for schools. So I think this is a very good example of solutions that are present out there. And of course, as I mentioned, the context is what you are seeing here. So there are so many places in which the hygienic conditions are what are you seeing. So toilets that don't have, they are not adequate with animals next to them. And especially in the rural villages, in the vulnerable communities, is not easy to live with a period also because hospitals are not nearby and people are not used to ask for help. And this, for example, is a well. So they use this water to wash. So imagine the infections, dermatitis, the irritation that you can have if you wash with this. And there is still, a lot of separation between the gender and women and the man, and they don't really communicate a lot with each other, especially about these things. And I would like to go towards the end of this presentation with two important topics. There are like the worst things that I witnessed while I was there, but they're really important for me to share because I think represent really the extent of the problem of period poverty in India. So here I'm in a brothel. This lady here on the left is a sex worker. And on the right, you can see her hand. She's showing me a piece of cotton. And you won't understand this picture unless I explain it. So basically, men are not allowed to have sex with women when they have menstruation. So many times they go and have sex with sex workers, but also sex workers have menstruation. So during their periods, what they do is that they place a piece of sponge or cotton inside their vaginas to block the blood. And so they can still have clients and still earn money. So when I was there and they were telling me this, apart from the fact that it's not hygienic and everything, I mean, it really gave me an overview of what was the reality. And I was really shivering. I mean, I was feeling very, very uncomfortable because I imagined myself putting a piece of, cotton or dirty sponge inside to have paid sex with someone. And it's really horrible. And another practice that unfortunately is still present in India, but also in other countries in Southeast Asia, is the one of kurmagars. Kurmagars are period huts. They're huts that are made by mud and bamboo. And usually they are in the outskirts of the villages and they are they don't have toilets, they don't have access to water, they don't have cooking facilities inside, and they are used by all the women who have their periods at the same time. So it can be that you are alone in the hut or there are two, three, four, five people. And usually there is only one bed, two beds and you are not allowed to cook or to bring food inside, so you are depending of some woman from the outside that leaves you, a plate with some food and some water. But what is really disturbing here is that, of course, in the monsoon season, there is a lot of rain, so these places are completely flooded with water, and women have to live in these conditions until their period is over. And at the same time, you cannot see it from this picture, but it's full of holes. So this means that snakes, insects, all kind of animals can go in. And in this case, we are in Gadchiroli district in Maharashtra. Outside this hut, there is a jungle. And in this jungle, there are tigers. And these women are alone, even if they are 12, in these huts. And they're really scared to be there. But this is part of the tradition. And since their mothers and grandmothers always did that, they are continuing to do so, even though they don't like it, even though they are scared. And also, some NGOs that are working in the area confirmed me that many women are raped and abused because maybe they are alone living in these huts. And this is the reality of things. So having a period means all these things, not just that you don't have maybe the necessary, you don't have the sanitary pads or that you have hygienic problems. It also means that you can be subject to rape, to abuse. You don't go to school, you don't go to work, and you lose part, of your social life. And yeah, I think that I want to conclude like with a message of hope that is symbolized by this picture. There is support. There are so many NGOs that are doing an amazing job, and I think it's essential that we continue to speak about this because period poverty is not present only in India. Is it present, or is it present also in Europe, in the US, just in different ways? And so we we need to continue to talk about this because it's important that menstruation reclaims its place at the center of the female narrative, and because it's really a source of of knowledge, of ancestral knowledge, and of many things that are important to know because it really affects so many aspects of our lives. And I will say that's it. I hope I didn't talk too much
Mhm.
and that it was interesting for you. So if you have, any questions or curiosity, I'm really happy to reply.
Right, well, thank you for that very powerful presentation, extraordinary photographs,
Thank you.
important story. So we do have time for a few questions. If you'd like to ask a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah, I was wondering, given the sensitivity of the topic that you described, how you not only got these women to talk to you about this topic, but allow you to photograph them.
It was really complicated. I could have access just because I stayed, multiple days in certain locations and I was collaborating with NGOs and also with local women that, as the Angavadi workers and other types of social workers were really explaining prior to my visit what I was doing, why it was important. But it's also true to say that most of them, they weren't really open to talk. So it took, a lot of time, conversation. I really had to explain exactly what I was doing and why I was doing that and why their words are important. Because they don't realize sometimes because they are isolated about how many other women live in the same situations. And if I try to explain to them that if they don't speak about this topic or um, very basic things like pain or what sanitary products they're using, other people also will have the same issues. So they don't know that other people have, the same problems. So it took a lot of time, but for sure it was essential the collaboration with the NGOs.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was reminded, I was in Kenya on a guided tour, uh, and one of the guides, a male guide, as a matter of fact, is a middle-aged man who was a teacher and told us that actually he was very involved in a project to get sanitary products to girls because he said a lot of them dropped out of school. That was 2007. So, I mean, I guess this has been going on quite a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Also, teachers. I visited so many schools because I really wanted to talk also with young girls. It's easier to talk with young girls because they're curious, because they're open. The most difficult, I will say, is to talk with adults. And in many communities, they were lying to me because they felt really uncomfortable in sharing, especially about the restrictions, because they didn't want to put, a bad light on maybe their families or their communities. But after a while, and maybe, off camera, when we spent some time together, they really confided in me and told me, the truth. And the truth is that it's still a patriarchal society, and there are so many things that women cannot do, even though it's a natural process, and we should be able to live it, in peace. And yeah.
Did you have a translator or a fixer who you worked with?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So with every NGO that I collaborated with, especially with the main one, Pinkish Foundation, I had um, like fixer for each location, especially because these NGOs have specific projects in different locations. And also I had different translators because sometimes like my fixer spoke Hindi, but not the local dialect. So sometimes we did interviews with two translators at the time, which is not the easiest, but it's true there are so many languages and dialects. So it was super important for me to be able to communicate and but in some contexts, I was also able to use English. I visited many vulnerable communities, but also, I spoke with university students, with also people that work in companies, so that they spoke English. So it was, let's say, both English, local dialects, and the help of fixers and translators for Hindi.
Right. All right, before we move on, I just want to add that both Ginevra's and Ibrahim's projects will be featured in the upcoming issue of ZEKE magazine, which should be out by end of May or early June. So keep an eye out for that. And we're also going to be exhibiting their work along with the honorable mention winners in Paris this fall during Paris Photo. It's not technically part of Paris Photo, but it'll be in Paris during that time, which is the second week of November. Ginevra and Ibrahim will both be there, as well as many of the honorable mention winners. So I hope anybody who's going to be at Paris Photo can join us there, and you'll receive more information about that as the fall approaches. So our next speaker is Ibrahim Alipour with his project Bullets Have No Borders from Kurdistan, Iran. This is a long-term documentary project about Kurdish Kolbars. These are border porters who carry goods across the Iran-Iraq mountains to support their families. And Ibrahim is a Kurdish Iranian photographer focusing on long-term documentary and visual storytelling about borders, identity, and social realities in the Middle East. Ibrahim is a self-taught photographer, but over the past years, he has used every opportunity to continue learning, including participation in the Seven Mentor Program and other educational experiences. He's received numerous awards for his work, including World Press Photo, Picture of the Year Asia, the Canon Grand Prize, and the Allard Prize. So now let me turn this over to Ibrahim Alipour from Kurdistan, Iran. Okay, Ibrahim.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Yeah, do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I hope we didn't have a problem in internet because my internet is a bit unstable, but let's start. I will share my screen. Okay. Okay. Share. Just, sorry. Okay. Can you see my
No,
screen?
you're not
No.
sharing.
Okay, hold on again.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As you mentioned, I'm a self-taught photographer from the Kurdistan, Iran, and I started many years ago. Actually, I study architect in university, and then later I realized it in some country like Iran or in a bigger size in Middle East, we really need to do more, especially for document something that happened in this area. So I I quit my job as an engineer and I started photography. So first I tried to cover all of the Middle East, at least the places that I could. So for example, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, the places that was close to me. So for example, I covered the first day of Afghanistan when the Taliban came back. And then later, I started the change in Middle East. And later, I realized that many things happen inside the Iran, and because of this, like censorship and other things that maybe all of you know. Aware about it, I started to focus mainly on Kurdistan, the place that I live. So at the first, it was like most of the projects that I did was long term because all of them was a part of my life. So I did some stories in Kurdistan, and then I realized it as real something really big happened in the borders. The topics that these days you heard a lot about it. So, wait, okay. I realize it. I grew up and I born also in a village near the border between Iran and Iraq. So some of my relatives live in Iraqian Kurdistan, and some of my family live in Iranian Kurdistan. So I grew up with I don't call it issue, but with uh, somehow a problem in our life that some of our relative and also some of our family was in another side of the border, and this border changed all of our life. For example, when we were child, do you hear me? Sorry, I think.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, okay. When I was child, many time I went to another side of the border to visit the family, and then we came back. Then when I grow up, I realized it's a really big issue in this border because the Kurdish people, especially near the border, because of the censorship and also the pressure from the central government and the Kurdish people, many of them they don't have job and they don't have opportunity to work in the government opportunities like government jobs. So many people in Kurdistan, in Iranian Kurdistan, through the mountain go to the Iraqian Kurdistan and bring stuff with the shoulder through the mountain. These things that people bring the stuff like at least 30 to 50 kilograms, sometimes more, like TV, refrigerator, cigarette, everything. They bring it to another side and they sell it. Um, it take at least between 8 to 12 hour, and it's a really hard way through the mountain because it's a really hard mountain, and most of the time it's snowy and it's really hard to cross the border. So I decided to tell this story not as a photographer, as a part of my life, not like as a project. So at the first, it was really hard for me because I grew up with this issue and I was part of this issue. So I didn't see many things. How crossing the border and how bring this stuff can change all of this area. So I started to document and work on this project a bit wider, how crossing the border and how a border can change like life of many people. This project it's a long-term project, and I work on it many years. But as I mentioned, I didn't like went to the project and take photo. It was all the photo was part of my life, so somehow I record part of my life. In these photos, you can see in the first photo you can see a Kulber after he carries stuff for like 10 hours. He arrived in the Iranian side, and usually they go at the night, and they arrived in the early morning when it's sunrise. It's harder to petrol border to shoot them. So I have to mention almost every day one person die or injured in this way. So most of them per statics they said more than 70% killed or injured by the petrol border from the Iranian side. So you can see a group of the Kolbars. Usually they go to another side in group because they don't want to last in the mountain or and usually because all of this stuff like TVs or cigarette or clothes, everything because it belongs to the owners, and they have, for example, 10 TV or 20 TV, so they need 20% to carry these stuffs to bring to Kurdistan in Iran. On the another side, you can see the photo. This issue started when after the 1979, after the revolution in Iran, because of the sanction and also because of the pressure of the government and also because of the border and pressure on the Kolbari started in Kurdistan. Um, in this photo, you can see. I just want to explain very short about the photo, and then if you have any came back from this road, they draw the road to another group that they want to go because they want to tell them where is possible to shoot by the petrol border, or where is the where they can shut by the checkpoints from the police. So they change their route in the mountains all the time. And in another photo, you can see it's a man eating snow because they cannot carry water because it's heavy. And most of them, they don't carry water. So they eat snow in the way when they are thirsty. Uh, yeah, is one guy uh, two person because of the avalanche died. So one of the another Kulber are trying to what they call it, I don't know, to help to survive another one. And yeah, it's the another photo is a portrait of another Kulber that, as I mentioned, usually they bring some just bread and cheese just for eating in the night because sometimes they have to wait in the mountain for like hours when it's put petrol border in the mountain, so they have to wait near the rocks and be silent till the petrol border go to another part. Here you can see a lot of plastic. They changed plastics when they arrived in Kurdistan, Iran, because they want to deliver all of this stuff in a good shape. So they have a two cover, plastic cover. So they changed it, the damaged one when they arrived in a Kurdistan, Iran, before they delivered the stuff. And till here, I think you mostly see the photos that are related to the act of the Kolbari, that carrying stuff through the mountains and borders. But when I try to tell the story, I realized it's so in a wider size. For example, here it's a woman, it's a voluntary woman are trying to teach Kurdish language, which is forbidden to the people in a remote village near the border because they cannot study or learn Kurdish language. So, and most of these people are Kulbar. So, I followed this girl for like a few years because she was volunteer and she went to remote villages and tried to teach Kurdish language to the people which most of them are Kulbars near the border. And then I realized it, especially in a small village near the border, most of the widows are young, really young, like under 16 or 16, because when they married, their husband have to go. For example, a Kulber can go to the border and come back maximum like twice per week. But when they have a ceremony for wedding, they have to go almost every night. So the chance that they shot by the petrol border is more high. So you can see and you can find many young widow in a small villages near the border that their husband shot or killed in this way. In another photo, you can see here is my mom and also my brother. The days that my brother wants to flee the country. Then when I realized it, when I wanted also to tell the story, I realized it's that many people, like young people or even educated people, have to left the country or flee the country because there is no job, or there is like a few jobs for the people. It's so hard to work for Kurdish people, especially. My brother, after he finished the philosophy, he went out of the country, and it's the moments that the last moments that wanted to say to goodbye to my mom. And here you can see the Kulbers are trying to change the plastic covers and prepare to deliver. In another photo, when I was like child, all the time when it was snow, the people were happy. At the first, as a child, for me was snow coming through the sky. But when I grew up, I realized that the people are happy not because of the snow. It's because when it's snowing, the petrol border didn't go to the mountains, so the coolers can go easily to the another side and bring the stuff. And but I remember when I was in village, I remember when it was snowy because of it was somehow acoustic the weather. When they shoot someone, we could hear the sound of the bullet very easy. I realized snow for us was really is more than like just snow or rain. It's somehow it's related to life of the Kulbers. Um, in this photo, you can see a Kulber. His name is Khaled, who is his young daughter. They wanted to kill him, but they shoot to his head, but they couldn't kill him. The bullet goes through here to here, so he lost both of his eye, and now he's blind. And most of the people are paralyzed because most of the people they shoot them to their head. So I have another photo also from the Kulbers that they are paralyzed from the neck to down to because they shoot to their neck or the head. And in another photo you can see it's a bullet. It's a war bullet. It's X-ray of the one of the legs of one of the Kulbers when they after they shoot him in the mountain. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Somehow, when I want to, uh, I see the moment, and I see the photography very simple because for me, I didn't educate it, and I don't know how to make it really complex. But I see the photos very simple. Sometimes, for me, like a stray dog in this mountain, which is there is not a lot of animals with the cool bears or in this mountain. It means somehow remind me if we do Kolbari, if they kill the Kolbars, if I record this moment, life still is going. So maybe sometimes I really wanted to show it. It's just more than like do an act to carry a stuff through a border to another border. In this photo, you can see a high educated Kulbar. That most of the high educated people they cover their face with mask because they don't want because most of the city are really small cities, so they don't want to recognize by other people because most of them like master or PhDs or higher. And when they finish their study, they have to come back and go to the Kulbari. So they cover their face because they don't want to recognize by other people's. Um, and here you can see it's a cool bear that do cupping because they believe cupping and extract extra blood from their back give them more power and more energy to carry stuff when they are going to Kulbari. And here is another group of the Kulbars. They carry TV, the big TVs, and they are crossing through the border, through the mountain. Here you can see the TVs that they bring. They bring and the owners they sell it in the shops in streets. So when if you come to the city near the border in Kurdistan, you can see many shops full of the refrigerator, TVs, like brand ones like Sony, LG, and another brands. And the people in Kurdistan sell it to the another part of in Iran. Here is the hands of this sculptor was his name was Ahmed. He lost his way. He separated from the group and he lost his way when in a night when it was snowy. So he lost his way and he lost a mountain for 2 nights. When they found him, because of frostbiting, he lost all of his fingers because it was too cold. And uh, it's a really Tehran to go to the hospital, and we were in a house. Suddenly, I was sitting in a hall room, and he came and he said, "Ah, the last finger down." He wanted to go to toilet and he wanted to open the door, but his last finger also fell down. So he just bring it and he showed it to me. My last finger is down. I think I have some more. Sorry, but I think yeah, the time is over. But I can show these photos also. Just four photos remained, and then I am done. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, okay. Here is a mountain in the border, and you can see it's a huge avalanche in the way that the Kolbars usually cross this mountain. And another side of the mountain is Kurdistan, Iraq. Here is Shafi. They shoot him to his head, but he paralyzed from the neck, and now I think he's paralyzed since 7 years ago, and he can just move his head, but not another body. Something that, especially these days, maybe you hear it a lot in the news and also everywhere. Everything in Iran, like economic things, is related to the dollar. So before the war, after the war, right now in the war, everything was with one. When someone in US say something and when someone in Iran say something, the currency of the Iranian money go high and down a lot. So many people, especially near the border, local people also they use the dollar for everything. And dollar can change your life. For example, in one night, 25% of all of your money go down just because someone said something in US or something happened in the Middle East. And here is a view of the border and one village. A man after the Kulbari is praying in his village. Um, it was a selection of the photo story, and I tried to explain very fast all of the photos, just so fast. So if you have any question about the photo or yeah, I'm here.
Well, thank you for, again, those extraordinary pictures of an extraordinary situation. I mean, I'm a great fan of the mountains. I love hiking in the mountains, and it pains me to see so much pain up in the mountains like that. Because, the mountains that you show are so beautiful, yet what people have to do there is so challenging, difficult, and dangerous. If anybody has any questions, again, just go ahead and unmute yourself. Well, let me ask you, Ibrahim. So you travel with the Kolbars, but I guess you're not carrying the weight that they're carrying, but you do everything else they do.
Yeah, I went many times. I was familiar with this because when we were young, young I means 10 or 11 years old. We didn't go to the Kulbari, but we went to the near the border. And when they bring the stuff, as a child, we repack everything like a small things again inside the newspaper and prepare it to send it to Tehran. So I was familiar with this mountain and also this road. And yeah, when I took the photo, I went with them many times. But I have a story. I remember once I had my camera. I used just one lens and one camera. So I had one lens and I went with them. But the road was so dangerous and it was really hard to go. And I remember I was all the time complaining about what I'm doing here. I could sit at home and drink my tea or I don't know. And I remember I wanted to go to the another side and it was a man, I remember he was almost 65 or 70 years old with a lot of like a huge to go up through a really hard climb. And I was waiting to him to come up and go, and then I could go down. And I was complaining all the time. And when he arrived, he just started to smile at me, and he told me, "Oh, welcome, and how are you?" And at those time, I remember, I think it was I'm not sure what third time or second time I went to the border. And at those time, I told myself, there is nothing to complain. Just shut up and do your work. And never, I didn't complain. Never when I went with them, because they did really like more than something that I do. So yeah, I went many times, and um, sometimes it was really hard because of the snow, because they shoot, but I think the small part of this story is about like sometimes that I was in the border. The most of the story was the sometimes that I wanted to tell a story that I was a part of this, and yeah.
Can I just ask a question? Both of these projects have been astonishing. I mean, really um, profound and shocking in many ways. But the thing that really, you mentioned doing your work. Um, and the thing that goes through my mind is actually, what is the work you feel you're doing? What, both of you, what's your driving force? This isn't just some interesting assignment you're doing for National Geographic or something. There's obviously something much deeper that's going on. Just tell us a bit about that. What drives you on with these projects?
Um, Ginevra, you wanna?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ibrahim. So for me, as a feminist, I think it's about time that we start to speak about menstrual blood. And I know that depending on, economic situations, depending on, where you live, women and also all the people that menstruate live menstruation in a different way. But it really impacts our life. Also in my personal, my personal experience, my personal story is really something that I found profoundly unfair, that something that is biological and natural becomes a limit to your life in so many aspects. And it pains me to see that in certain country is also, another way to abuse women. So for me, is a research that started, of course, with period poverty in India, but it will continue because I'm planning more chapters on the topic of menstruation in general. Um, of course, because it's a social issue, it's a human rights issue, but also there is so much regarding history, anthropology, medicine, that is involved because there are so many taboos and stigma also now in the Western society. So I would like to address all these topics, and it's really something that uh, I'm really passionate about because no one really talks about it, and um, it's so fundamental for our lives. So I think it was about time that uh, someone started to do, more on this, and I'm so happy that to have this opportunity, the Social Documentary Network, to really start speaking about this.
Ibrahim?
Um, Yeah, actually, for me, it's more simple from Geneva to answer because for me, as I mentioned, this photo story wasn't a project for me. It was part of my life, really. So I didn't travel, or I didn't what they say. I really didn't focus to make this project. I lived, I was here, and I just follow my friend, my classmate, my brother, and my relative. And actually, at the first, for me, wasn't project, like wasn't a photo story. Um, After I was working, I remember I was working on some other really huge because many people in like more than 500 kilometers in the border, they do this Kolbari. So it was really big, and I grew up with this issue. So I really didn't see at the first that is a somehow it's an issue, and I have to narrate it. And later I realized it affects all life of all of us, like my father, my grandpa, many people. And and another reason also that I have to mention was I didn't see and I didn't find someone else to work in this region because it's so risky. For first of all, like the foreigner photographer cannot come to Iran, especially in Kurdistan, especially in the border. So we didn't see photographer in Kurdistan, Iran to work in the border, and also it's really hard to find the families and also to tell stories that show these huge issues. So I started to document my life, and then it became a photo story, and I tried to complete it to took some other photos for the photo story.
Okay, great responses from both of you. Really interesting. Would anybody else like to ask a question? Just go ahead and unmute yourself. Do either of you share your photographs with the subjects of your photographs, either in print or digital?
I have with some of them. Others they don't have internet, so I plan to go back to certain places on my next visit to India to show also the project. And because I took so many, it's really like a very big project. So I would love that especially to show it to the children and the young girls that I met.
That must always be an empowering moment for them to see a real
It
photograph of them. And
it is. And I remember in one of the schools, I really bonded with one girl. She was 16. And at the end of the day, I spent a lot of time with her. She told me, this is the best day of my life. And I say, why? Because she told me, because you're here, because I feel important and I can tell you my story. And I was like, okay, even if this project doesn't get published, even if it stays in my camera, this is already enough. It was exactly what I wanted to do, to give, girls the opportunity to speak, since no one really asked them what's going on in their life. So I think it's already enough. And for me, it was amazing.
you'll have to bring them some copies of ZEKE magazine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Ibrahim, what about you? Do
For
you?
yeah, for me, first of all, it's really hard to explain to my community that I'm a documentary photographer. So they see me because most of them, they don't know what I'm doing. The photo are not beautiful, and also most of them, I'm a classic one, so most of them are black and white. So they see me for many years, like 10 years, I don't know more, with a camera and everywhere. So actually, they didn't know, most of them, that what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do. But I think almost all of them, because I followed many of them, because I went with them to the hospital many times, or to the Tehran, to the capital of Iran, to hospitals, or to in other places. I follow them and I meet them in the street and in another city also. But everything happened. They realized it after a WordPress photo last year. So I think almost all of them, because they saw it in the news and other things. It's why it's really important, this kind of talking about the project and another thing. It's really important for me and also for them. Now most of them, they know what I'm doing, at least about the Kolbars project and Bullets Have No Border. So right now, most of them, they know, and they called me. Most of them, after they see the news, and actually, till now I couldn't somehow to show them the photos because I have this experience. Sometimes I try to show my photo and they are not really satisfied with the photo because they really want a beautiful photo or somehow a photo at least a better with the composition or the light, but my photo are black and white. They don't like it, but yeah, it's good. Sometimes I show after the last year, I'm trying to show more and speak more about the story. And especially right now, I'm trying to record some videos and make a documentary, multimedia. So now we are talking more about the photo stories and photos. And yeah.
Well, it's interesting how often the subjects of documentary photography don't like the way they're portrayed in a documentary photograph. Most people just want to see a typical photograph of them and their friends or family smiling with their hands around each other in a nice position and the world over.
It's true.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, if not, I want to thank both of our presenters. Thank you very much. Both did an extraordinary job. Look forward to seeing you in Paris. And for the rest of you, I look forward to seeing you at upcoming SDN programs. So thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And this
Thank you,
is
Glenn.
recorded and it will be on our YouTube. You're welcome, Ginevra. Okay. Bye-bye.
Perfect. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.